Success is never a magic wand, it's the result of stewardship in the seasons where no one is watching. Today, we're joined by a legendary bass player and world-class bodybuilder who has mastered the art of consistency in his callings. We're breaking down how to move from survival to sovereignty and why your internal discipline is the only thing that can support your external dominion. If you're hungry to walk in your God-given purpose, but the process feels slower or more hidden than you expected, you're not alone. This is the Jesse Wood Show, where we give voice to the real process behind God-designed purpose. I created this space for faith-driven builders like you to help you recognize the importance of the season that God has you in and what He's doing in you during it. Because what He builds in you matters just as much as what He builds through you. I'm Jesse Wood. Welcome to the podcast, and let's build together. What's up, guys? Thank you again for tuning into the podcast, The Jesse Wood Show. Today, I have a very special guest that I'm actually personally incredibly excited about. And it's been an honor to meet and talk with him, and kind of like a childhood hero to me in a way. We have the one and only Kalel Wittig. He is a bass player like me, bass player of an incredibly small, tiny, unheard of band. I'm just kidding. An incredibly popular band in the Christian music space that defined a lot of my own music and what I could do as a bass player with the band called Pillar. Also huge into fitness. He's a model. He's an author. I'm not really sure what he doesn't do, but so glad to have you here on the podcast, Michael. And I'm excited to see what just words of encouragement and nuggets and wisdom and really being in this thing for such a long time, what you can offer the listener on here today that is just trying to find encouragement and strength in their journey, no matter where they're starting out, kind of in the middle, in the wilderness, trying to get direction, or maybe some things are really working and maybe they feel God's calling them to do other things. So I'm so glad you're on here, and I'm so excited to see what nuggets we kind of dig up during our conversation.
Thanks for having me on the show, Jesse. I really appreciate it, and I'm really excited to talk with you right now.
Yeah, well, get us up to speed a little bit. What is like currently happening in your life? You're really excited about. Also, Pillar. You guys have a movie coming up, and isn't your son involved in making that? There's some really cool things you got going on. Get us up to
There's a
speed.
lot of things going on in my life right now. I'm juggling a bunch of things. One of the big things is Pillar started back up again, started playing shows again in 2024. After over a decade, for over 15 years with the original lineup that came back, and we played some shows in 24. We played some shows last year, including out in New York and Germany and a few other places. And this year in 2026, we're getting ready to release a full-length documentary. It's a feature length. It's like an hour long, directed and produced by my son, Caden, who is a film graduate. He's an award-winning filmmaker, been making his own shorts and working on big movie sets for years now. And when we decided to come back in 24, after such a long time off, he thought, Dad, this would be a great time to film a documentary. And I said, okay, go for it, son. This is all you, though. I don't want to be looking over your shoulder and telling you what I don't want to micromanage this. I want this to be your project. So he took the art direction and came up with the story he wanted to tell, and he did a phenomenal job. We're really excited. It's called Pillar Beyond the Frontline. It's available for pre-order now on our website, pillarmusic.com. But starting tomorrow, we're announcing and going to be launching the information for the streaming premiere, which is happening here really soon. May 13th, it will start streaming, and all that info is going out tomorrow. So exciting times.
Yeah, that's epic. How does that feel having your son? Like we're having this multi-generational creativity thing, and he's kind of like working with your legacy and helping you build that out. I can't even imagine what that would be like. But how does that feel for you?
Man, it's super cool because he remembers I have 4 children. Of the 4, he's the one that remembers Pillar. The other ones are too young when we kind of stopped playing. So he used to come out on stage every now and then and play a little guitar, play some drums. And there's a cute picture, a couple pictures I have of him little on stage. And it's actually at the end of the documentary, it says a Kalel Wittig film. And it has that picture of him up on stage with Rob, on this big stage from way back in the day. And it's just awesome because he remembers things, being on the bus and watching me play. And he started getting into filmmaking when he was 6. He's never stopped. He's 22 now. So he's real talented, and it was awesome, especially when we filmed it. Back in 24, he came to those rehearsals, he came to the 3 shows, and he got hours and hundreds of hours of footage. And just to be having him there, filming our rehearsals, going out to eat with us, traveling with us, and having him there was a special. And then he was there to do a job, and capture all that. So the whole thing is just such a great experience. When we watch it, we get emotional because
Wow.
it tells this documentary tells our story like it hasn't been told before. How we met, how we came together, some member changes, us kind of walking away from it. We never quit. We never said, "Hey, we quit." We just went our separate ways and got busy in life. And it tells about that and how we came back together. And it documents our rehearsals and our comeback show. So it's just a really special story that we're excited for everyone to see.
Man, well, you are definitely an entrepreneur and a business builder. And what I'm picking up that I'm loving so much with this is that you identified a passion that your son had when he was 6 years old, and you've just been empowering him to chase this thing for forever. It seems. And so what's the trouble when, as we're growing up and we're in school and typical society says you got to go get a real job and you got to go to college and punch the clock and be smart. But oftentimes that can often lead to more like an Egypt slavery life where we're doing our job, but we're not free, but we're okay because we get paid, we got a roof over our head and all that. It takes a different mindset, connection with God to really encourage creativity when it's not so much a sure thing or a typical path. So how has your walk with the Lord as an entrepreneur and a business builder empowered you to to support your son like that and really set him up and encourage him and tell him to just go after it?
So for me, I got that encouragement from my mom. I was raised by my grandparents, and I call my grandmother mother. And she was an entrepreneur. She had her own business doing interior decorating out in Southern California. And so I got that from them, from my parents, from my mom especially,
Wow.
being a business owner and entrepreneur. And then I just knew early on um, that music was my calling and fitness. I came across them both around the same time when I was 15-ish, 16, and I just knew that that was gonna be my calling. I had just a good feeling that music was gonna be where I was gonna end up. Uh, so I just never quit. Let me tell you a quick story. So when I was real little, I was hit by a car on my birthday. We were gonna go to Chuck E. Cheese, and I was riding my bike around the block before we went to Chuck E. Cheese. On my way back to the house, I crossed the street and got hit by some younger kids delivering the paper. Went through the windshield, they hit the brakes. I went back out through the windshield, broke just about everything, was in a coma for a while. When I got out, I had to wear this big brace. But what I don't remember is my mother told me this. She said when I woke up out of the coma, she told me that the first thing I said was, "Jesus saved me." Now, I don't remember saying that, but my mom did, and she told me that. And I knew that at that early age that, okay, God saved me for a reason. I got something to do. So I always felt called because of that. And then when I came across music and knew that that's what I wanted to do, I had a feeling that that was going to be it. So because of that, though, I've always shot for the stars. I'm one that hasn't never had a typical job. I do music. The Pillar was the first half of my adult life. That's all we did to support our families. And I got into fitness and training, and I write fitness articles and books, and I act now, and I model, and I just do all these things. Um, in the fact that, hey, I may not be able to be an actor, that doesn't cross my mind. Or maybe I can't write, that's too hard. It doesn't cross my mind. I know I have a purpose, so I always go for long shots. And I've always taught my kids that. They've seen me do these things. They still see me doing things. I'm almost 50 now and I'm still doing new things. It's just because I'm never scared to try something. And then when it's something I know I'm supposed to do, I don't ever quit. I'm not great at many things, Jesse. What I'm really, really good at is being consistent, though. I'm not the best bass player. I'm not the best bodybuilder. I'm not the best writer, but I'm consistent, and consistency and hard work will get you really, really far. May not make you the best, but it can get you really, really far where you're pretty happy.
Wow, and then you've just been clearly a great model to your son for that.
Yeah, I mean, he's seen that. He's seen me live outside of the box. So he was just used to that. So I've been giving him pointers on how to think that way, how to market yourself, and how to put your best foot forward and talk to people and shake their hand just early on with both my sons and my daughters. And then with Caden, like I was doing fitness modeling for a long time because of the bodybuilding work. Once I got off the road with Pillar, I jumped into my other passion, which was fitness. Got certified as a trainer, eventually a master trainer. Learned a lot of marketing and business from Pillar. Okay, how to market yourself, how to do sponsorships. I learned all that from the music business, but then applied it to the fitness industry like immediately. I wasn't wanting to train in the one person at a time in a private facility. I wanted to start doing that, but my goal was always to try to help thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people. And I knew I was going to do that through video work, through writing articles for magazines, and speaking events and things like that. So he's seen that me develop all these different genres of business. I mean, even the acting, I've been doing fitness modeling for a long time, and then that was an easy jump to acting. But the only reason I thought to me do acting was to help him. He wants to be a movie director specifically, not just on a crew, not just setting up stuff. He wants to be a director. So I was like, okay, I have the ability to be an actor. So I got myself an agent. She had me booking right away, for movies, commercials, just whatever. But I was able to meet all these people in the industry here in Oklahoma, which is a growing music business, or growing film industry here in Oklahoma. It's growing really big. And I was able to meet all these people, get him on sets. Now everybody knows who he is. So my plan worked. It's kind of fun doing acting work. It helps support the family. It's not something I'm super passionate on wanting to do. Some people's dream is to be an actor. For me, it's just something I do for extra fun, but it really helped out my son a lot.
Man, I love that genius and even thinking creatively, how can I go open up doors for the next generation and for my kids and leading in that faith. And something that is so resonating with me, Michael, in your story was having that crazy car accident where you wake up and you're like, man, if I'm still here, it must be for a reason. And you have a high sense of purpose at that point that's just driven you. I can definitely say I have that in common with you. I was pretty much born dead, a twin, 2 months premature, but 35 minutes late. I had terribly, built lungs because I was so premature. I think I passed away about 4 times before I was the age of 7, like 35 ambulance rides, over 100 hospital stays, even in the helicopter a couple times. But when I was 3, I was on the front row at church. My mom was always an enthusiastic worshiper, and then my dad was a singer. He even sang in a gospel quartet. He sang the bass, and he's shorter than me. He's like 5'7". He sang the bass, and then I played the bass. But at 3 years old, I had this idea that the God who created the entire universe, he was just seeing me sing to him, and he was just delighted by me. And then I just felt that, wow, like we're gonna do big things together. And like you said, I must be here for a reason, which is why my book is titled The Purpose Driven Business Builder's Blueprint. Because you can get some good ideas, you can go strive and go try to figure things out building a business. But when you have that purpose as the driver, I think it changes everything. It changes how you keep going. Like you said, you stay consistent and you don't quit because I'm not going to stop with purpose still left in me. At least that's how I feel. And I'm like, God, I'm really just partnering with you. So I'm not taking ownership. I'm really just operating in stewardship. And it really seems like you have that going on. There's even kind of a fun fable out there. And I just want to prove this for the listener that while you were on tour, with Pillar, that the bus would be kind of leaning because you had all your weights and a workout equipment on the bus. Is that a true story? Did that really happen?
Yeah, man, I've always enjoyed fitness. It was kind of like my other passion, music and fitness. And there's times where I didn't work out because we were so busy. But whenever we kind of got the band pretty stable and had extra time, we started hitting the gym every day. And when you're on the road, you can't really do that sometimes. So I brought my home weight set on our bus. I think all the guys contributed a little bit, but we had a bench, barbell, all the weights, dumbbells, tons of dumbbells. Like it was like a whole gym, and it was so much weight that yeah, the bus leaned. It permanently messed up the shocks, I guess. But we would pull up at a Walmart parking lot or behind the stage at a festival and just set up our gym and all be out there working out. And We were kind of known as the workout band back in the day.
Well, I think when you're Christian heavy metal, some people maybe they kind of would gawk at that and they're like, how can it be heavy metal when you're Christian? Well, when you see the band and they all look like they could rip you in half, you instantly respect them. So
It was
I
a
don't
fun
know
time,
if
especially like during the reckoning when me and Lester were huge, had long hair. We just looked like these. We were all super nice guys, but looked like a bunch of mean dudes. It was pretty fun.
But what I love about that is you never felt like you had to just stay in a box, but you had these multiple passions. What would you say to the listener that maybe they feel like they've got to choose this or that, or a 9 to 5, or going after entrepreneurship, or I have this passion, but I also have this passion. What would you say to that type of listener right now?
Well, I think that it's okay to have multiple passions, and it's possible to have multiple passions and excel in multiple areas. But I don't think you can just, you got to use discernment. You can't just jump into it all. So for me, people ask me how I do certain things, like how do you do so many things? How do you write for magazines? How are you also doing this? I mean, they just sometimes can't comprehend all the things I do. But what I always tell them is I didn't start off this way. I didn't start off doing all this stuff. Let me bring it down to one thing: my fitness work online. Okay, I have a whole business and all this stuff I post up and lots of sponsors. Um, it didn't start off with everything you see online now. I didn't post every day when I first started. I was working full time. I had kids. It just a lot going on. But what I did with the fitness stuff is I did what I could do consistently. And that's really with anything that you want to pursue, that you want to learn, that you want to jump into, a business that you want to try. Start off working at a pace that you can be consistent with. And then once you see success, you can open up more time and add to it. You wouldn't want to start three passions at once and fail at all. Whatever you can fit into your life. I always tell people you may not be able to do what you want to do right now. You may not be able to quit your job and start that new business. You may not have the money to do this, but take small steps every day to get you in that direction. Small steps each day to get you in that direction. And then as you start in on it and you have more time, you can try to juggle different passions. That's just how I've always done things. When I wanted to start writing for magazines, I had no idea how to get started. I had the knowledge for fitness, but I didn't know how you got in that business. So what I always do, and I always encourage my sons to do, and friends that ask, is when you want to get into something, you got to do your research. So I always ask professionals, people that know more than me. I surround myself. The guys in Pillar, they're better musicians than me. Anything that I've ever done, I surround myself with people that are just better at it. That's how I learn. That's how I get better. And then I opened up time for it. Okay, I'm going to make these contacts now in the fitness writing industry, and I got to reach out to people, and then I got to write articles. When am I going to find time to do that? So during that time in my life, which was back in 2019, I started getting up an hour earlier. I was maybe getting up at 4 a.m. at that time. I don't do that now, but I did then. And that 4 to 5 or 4 to 5:30 was my dedicated time to figure out how to write for magazines, reach out to them, and write articles. And it worked. I spent time researching. Then I used that hour to reach out to tons of people, made contacts, got hired, started writing articles that block of time. So you may have to get up a little earlier, stay up a little bit later, but have a dedicated time to take one step forward in the direction of where you want to be eventually.
I totally agree with you. That's such awesome wisdom. I'm not a get up earlier person. I'm a stay up later person, for being honest. So I'm like, you're already more, more holy than I am because you'll get up, get up early. But when you see other entrepreneurs or people really trying to build that are passionate, but well, where do you think the biggest obstacles probably come from for people that are not willing or are not doing quite those things that you're talking about? What problems might they be facing that we really need to overcome?
I think a lot of it sometimes is not being aware. The real word is ignorant, but it sounds like a mean word, but it just means not knowing. Not knowing, so being able to ask for help and seek advice. That's a big holdup for a lot of people. They just try to do things on their own, which is fine. Mistake Mistakes are there to learn from, but you can save a lot of trouble and a lot of time if you just talk to someone that's already done it before and get advice and get help. I don't do anything by myself. I have family, friends, people that are talented that just surround me that help me with all the things that I do. So I'm not afraid to ask for help, especially if it's somebody who can do things better than me.
Wow. And I love that you said that. And for the listeners out there, I did not pay him to say that. Michael's probably not even fully aware that in my book, builder is an acronym. It's a 7-step process that God takes you through to build, and the first step, B, is become aware. Is first just becoming aware that you have a purpose, becoming aware of the things that you need to do, becoming aware just by surrounding yourself with the right people, like you're
Yep.
talking about, Michael.
And then
So
just being
you've
consistent and then being consistent. You're never going to be perfect. Whatever that new venture is, you're going to mess it up. Things are going to fall apart, go sideways. They just do. The most successful people in the world has failed and had more bad days than anybody else. But the thing is don't quit. So if you just make the the promise to yourself that you're not going to quit and you're going to learn from your mistakes, you'll eventually get there.
Vision isn't permission to rush, it's an invitation to trust. Like Abraham, sometimes you're called to move without seeing the full destination. Everyone wants to build what they feel called to build, but calling often comes before visibility, like David in the field. When God gives you a vision, it's not so you can force it to happen. Like Joseph, there are seasons where the dream is clear, but the path is quiet. Before God builds something with you, he builds you, the builder. Like Moses in formation, and Nehemiah laying foundations that last. The Purpose-Driven Business Builder's Blueprint was created to help you recognize your season and build it right. Learn more at purposedrivenbuilder.com.
Yeah, I want to hear for the listeners any specific stories or examples where you felt like quitting, it was tough, it didn't look like it was all going to work out, or maybe it was all crumbling. Maybe there's a moment with God that you had that just gave you some fresh wisdom or some insight or the strength to keep going, where maybe you're in the natural, but then something supernatural collides and we keep going, and you're now sitting with us now as the version of Michael that you are because you didn't quit or because of that moment.
Well, there's a few times, few little things. So I'll start off with something not as heavy, but back when I started fitness and I do natural fitness competitions. I started that when I turned 40 back in 2016, and I competed in 2016 and I kept doing it in 2017. And my goal was to get my natural pro card. You have to get first in a specific competition with enough competitors to get your pro card. That was my goal. And I did my first natural competition, and my good friend beat me. I got second, he got first. Competed again, he was there, he got first again, he got his pro card, I got second. So I was like, dang it, I'm gonna go try to compete again without him there. And I got second again. Some other young guy, I'm 40, some 20-year-old beat me out like this far, I guess. So 3 times I just about quit. I was like, I don't know if maybe I'm not cut out, good enough to do this. Um, and almost quit. And then I found out that, okay, this last competition, I didn't win. And I found out there's another one. It was either in 1 week or 2 weeks away in Arkansas. Okay. I'm in Oklahoma. The competitions I did were in Oklahoma. I'm like, it's only a week away, and maybe I can tighten up what I've been missing. And I made that commitment to not quit and do that one more competition. I didn't talk about it. I do a lot of social media stuff. I didn't talk about it, didn't tell nobody. Went up there with my sons, didn't tell nobody about it. Went up there and competed, ended up winning two first pro cards actually that one day. Huge class, a lot of people. And I remember going online with my sons and it's like, hey, I got a surprise. We had to compete today. We won the pro card, and it was just a special moment because not just because I won, but because I didn't quit and I did that. My sons were there to witness all that. It was a special moment for me.
Wow. Well, is there another? You said not so heavy. We still have a few minutes left here. Is there
Yeah.
something heavier?
Yeah, man. I'm maybe going through stuff right now. I would say this last year has been pretty heavy for me. There's been some loss, and um, for the first time in my life, I've touched depression. I never really understood it before because I've always had a purpose. I've always had a vision. I always knew that God was using me for things. So the concept of depression never really made sense to me. I would see people were depressed. I'm like, how could they be depressed? It just, I thought it was all in your mind, you know. Just there's been a lot of loss this year and just tough times. And for the first time, I got depressed, and I get it now. I mean, it's like where you don't want to get out of bed, you know. You just for a minute there, for a while there, for the first time in my life, I felt like my purpose was just gone. I didn't feel it anymore. Didn't feel that internal motivation that I always have. I'm always excited to do these things that I do. I'm just a highly motivated person. I don't need outside influence to get me to do things. And for the first time, all that just felt gone. And I just felt stuck for a while. Really, it took me just repeated prayer, you know, just saying, God, I feel broke right now. And I need you to fill the cracks with your hope and your love. That's a prayer that I still pray to this day every day, because it's all not long ago where it took a minute to get the prayers there. And once the prayers are there, I just, again, being consistent, just not quitting. Cause I know, you know, God can do things like this and sometimes he doesn't. And you just got to wait on his timing. So I just kept praying for God to fill my broken cracks, you know, with his love and his hope. Um, just slowly it's came back. You know, I just noticed it one day where I didn't feel sad and depressed. And it took that regular prayer. It took reading the Bible regularly, reading it regularly, which you say that, and we as Christians, we're supposed to do that, and we do, but it's really easy to get out of the habit too. You know, we're running businesses and we got kids and it's just busy time sometimes. And you're like, I'll do it later. And you don't do it. So I've just, again, set up a system of being consistent about that. And it helps. Stuff helps. You know, it sounds lame when you don't do it, or just it doesn't sound like a big deal. Oh, that's what all the Christians do. But if you're really not doing well, praying every day, a couple times a day, reading your Bible, it makes a big difference. You know, be able to talk to a friend about that stuff you can't talk about, you know. So just in just being able to slowly get hope back and my purpose back has been meaningful, and it's something I'm still working on. It's still a work in progress, you know, but I know I feel a lot better today than I did 6 months ago.
Come on. Such incredible wisdom. And thank you for that bold and vulnerable sharing. I think it matters to know that no matter what success you've had or other things that go on, we're still just human beings. And at the end of the day, that relationship with the Lord and being consistent even in that is something that we can't replace. And so if you're listening right now, maybe you're a little lost in your purpose, or even you feel invincible. I've definitely related in that case with you, Michael, just kind of feeling invincible, like not understanding people going through depression. But early last year, I kind of found myself, I was like, I think I might be depressed. I don't know. I just don't quite have the same drive. I think it's important to just give yourself grace in those seasons, ask the Holy Spirit for guidance. And I love what you said, just putting yourself around the right people that you could plug into, be encouraged by. But Michael, in the last couple of minutes here, how can people find you? What's the best way to connect with you, get the latest of what's going on?
So I'm on all social media, just about all the things, and it's all Wittig Works. My last name is Wittig, and all the things I do, I just put under the branch of Wittig Works. So I have wittigworks.com. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram, Wittig Works, TikTok, and then of course on Pillar. So Pillar's socials are all Pillar Music, pillarmusic.com, you know, Pillar Music on Instagram, Pillar Music on Facebook. Our new documentary, Pillar Beyond the Frontline, is for pre-order now on our website. And then we're announcing the worldwide streaming event. We're announcing the information for that tomorrow, and it does take place here in May. So it's all coming up soon.
Sounds really good. Thanks, Michael. By the time you're watching this episode, some of these things may have already occurred. So just search him, find it. Don't miss out on everything he's got going on. Such an incredible man of God. Thank you for your time today. I really appreciate that. You guys have been tuning into the Jesse Wood Show with Michael Kalel Wittig and yours truly, Jesse Wood. Let's build together.